This episode may contain graphic language and descriptions, nicotine use, and may not be suitable for younger audiences. Opinions expressed in this episode are of the minds and experiences of the participants and do not represent those of any other people, organizations, groups, or recovery-based fellowships that may be mentioned. We speak only for ourselves.
God bless you. We love you, and we hope you hear something that helps you. Thanks for listening.
Never had the Wagyu.
You ever been to Joey Chops?
I've not. You said I gotta check out that place.
Yeah, dude, it's right next to our home group.
I haven't been to a good steakhouse in like a hot minute, dude. Lauren's trying to get me out to Capitol Grill. I haven't seen any of them lately.
Where is that? That's in the city.
No? King of Prussia. There's one in the city too.
Okay.
Yeah, right by like Mall Boulevard.
Maybe I'm thinking of Steak 48. That's in the city, right?
I'm not sure I heard of that one.
I took Madeline to Del Frisco's one time.
Oh shit.
In the city. Yeah.
So like a la carte, like $80.
Dropped a hot fucking paycheck on that, dude.
Yeah, dude. You pay like $80. You get just the steak. Then you gotta get like everything separate.
Oh, dude, it was crazy. It was very good. It was very good.
Oh, dude, it's like a noticeable difference.
What I got from Joey Chops was better though.
Really? What'd you get there again?
I got this. God, dude. It's spelled in a way where I feel like I'm mispronouncing it the way that I want to say it. You ever have that kind of thing? And it's like Wagyu Terrace Majors. Even just saying it like that, like you just gave me that look. Like I feel like I'm saying it in a white way.
Isn't Terrace Major like a part of the body though?
Yeah.
So like it's like this back muscle right by your shoulder blade. So maybe that's the part of the cow.
I knew it was part of a cow body.
Yeah.
It's part of all bodies?
I'm pretty sure we have a Terrace Majors, dude.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Hopefully it was cow. Maybe that's why I can't stop thinking about it. But yeah. So we're doing this, dude.
Dude, let's do it, man.
This
years
is
in the making.
Years. We tried this. Do you remember us trying this in our office at RCA, trying to record it on my phone?
Yeah.
In between sessions?
We've literally been having chats like we're going to get to have now at your badass kitchen table set up for fucking 5 years.
Yeah, pretty much. So welcome everybody. This is episode 1 of Peeling Onions. Many onions are in trouble at this table, dude. These fingers are ready for peeling, scratching, clawing. Anything that you could do to an onion, we're going to do it. And so... Again, as I said in videos before, what this podcast aims to do is hear stories of different individuals, or if anybody's just good on speaking on particular topics, we'll just have meaningful conversations with them. But the point is to kind of extrapolate lessons and different moments in people's stories for moments to relate to the audience, and or extrapolate lessons that we learn in recovery, that we feel like a lot of other people could really use in their life. Because, I mean, we walk around. I know I have a lot of experience walking around and seeing like, that guy could use the book. You know what I'm saying?
All the time.
Yeah, that guy could use the book for sure. Not in like a judgmental way, but more like observational and like and removed. But so that's kind of why we wanted to start this. And so first 2 episodes are going to be you and I, and this episode is yours. So the way we're going to kind of learn as we go, and hopefully like everybody else, whoever else there may be, is all right with that. I mean, if not, then go see somebody about peeling potatoes or something. Like I don't really know, man. But that's what we're gonna do.
Nah,
and
dude, peeling onions, I'm set with it. I've been thinking about it. We're sticking.
Yeah, I love it, dude. I love it. When that clicked in my head, I was like, oh fuck, dude.
Like, because it takes something we've heard a million times and actually puts like a lot of different stories and like words behind it. Like, how many times have you heard somebody say peel the onion?
Yeah,
I kid you not, I've heard it 100 times.
Yeah,
so
easily. So I know you know me, we know that. But these people don't know you probably. and not all of them know me or my story. So why don't you just kind of like start from the beginning? You could start in like your childhood, whatever it may be, and then we'll just see where it goes.
Awesome. I was hoping you weren't going to say, tell me about yourself, dude. That's the hardest question.
No, dude, that's like asking what the story is, dude.
All right. So, yeah, so I was raised in I was born in like the mainline area of Narberth. So a little bit about my family just to get a sense of like, early beginnings. So I have one brother and two twin sisters, and we all have different dads.
Two twin sisters?
Sorry, twin sisters.
I didn't. Oh, I didn't catch that. You caught that. Yeah. I just meant that I didn't know that you had twin siblings.
So I got twin sisters, dude. So
no shit.
Obviously, the twins have the same dad, but
yeah,
me,
that
my
would be
brother,
weird.
Yeah, me, my brother, and my sisters all have different dads. So like, yeah, like growing up in a household with like different siblings, like we didn't know any different, but like it's just kind of crazy to think about, right? So. Born in the main line, and I don't know, dude, like normal childhood. So I guess like my earliest memories are sports.
For sure.
Now, I love sports, but my dad loves sports 3 times as much as I do. So like, I was a T-ball kid, played basketball, like love sports, the Sixers, the Phillies. And that's really like my young memories is like baseball and basketball teams. So my mom like worked tons as a single mother. She actually worked in Kensington, which is random, at this light fixture company. And so that's where I was born. And yeah, dude, like early on, man, I just remember kind of being like in a spot where I needed to help a lot in my household because my mom wasn't around. I remember hanging out with kids in the neighborhood, seeing my dad on the weekends. I remember like going over to my grandparents' house and my grandpa hitting me balls and me running across like his backyard. But yeah, so pretty good childhood. Couple other things though that give it a little color is, so I actually was a baby that had SIDS disease. There might be another name for it now. Sudden infant death syndrome.
You called it you've called it crib death, right?
Yeah, so that's what my mom always called it.
Okay,
it might not be like the correct term, but so
it doesn't sound like something you want to hear from a doctor when they're walking in. No, they probably don't use that.
No. So when I was, I guess, a few months old, my mom, I was in my crib sleeping over my grandmom's house, and my mom got this like motherly instinct, walked over to my crib, my face was bright blue, I had stopped breathing, picked me up, and like shook the dickens out of me, and I gasped for air.
Shit.
So there was that. Before that, I had bacterial meningitis. So I guess we're going back a little bit. So I spent like the first 6 weeks of my life in the hospital. So bacterial meningitis, then the SIDS or crib death. Then I had a double hernia. So like lots of weird medical stuff that went on, and like definitely in some weird way, like I truly believe later in my life it made me like more willing to take risk. Like all the shit that I had going on even before I was old enough to realize it.
Dude, there's really weird things there, and it's like this. I'm harping back to what you said about your mom having like a motherly instinct. And I mean, motherly instinct for like, I think that's a thing. Like, but your mom is also a pretty spiritual person.
Yep.
Which is kind of crazy that you get that kind of feeling, happen to have those kind of practices, and it just happens to be a life or death situation. Like, I don't think that's anything to just like, I mean, it's your story, so you're kind of saying it like in passing, but it's like, hold the phone, dude. Like,
yeah,
your mom had this sense that you were dying as a baby in the other room. It didn't go through her head, but she had a sense that something was wrong. And it's really weird. I don't know if you ever have those experiences, but like ever since I can remember, I always had like gut feelings. And that sounds kind of like elementary to mention, right? But I mean, I could never. I still don't really know what the fuck is going on there. Like, what do you ever have any thoughts on that or something? Like any kind of instincts or I mean, it's kind of like a big thing to just throw out, but it's it's really weird that there's this intangible thing where you can pick up on something happening or something occurring that you can't see or hear and have no evidence for, but a lot of times it could be true. And it I never it never starts in the brain for me. If I feel it physiologically, it always starts in my gut.
I was just gonna say, dude, it starts in the belly.
And that's
every time.
weird, dude.
Yep.
That's really weird. And like I don't know if it's really like the brain computing behind the scenes, but like what the fuck is that, dude?
Dude, I think it's like so purely physiological, and there's no, like, I'm sure there's probably some like study that hits on it because there is for everything, but like
Some deep dark corner of the brain that's like real primal,
yeah.
like base level neurology or something.
But think about like that feeling, dude. Like when you get like a visceral feeling like that, I see it. I'm not gonna say it happens a lot, but when it does, like nothing's more real to me.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure that I'm right on whatever that
Yeah.
much is.
Yeah.
You know, so it's I definitely do get that, and like honestly, man, like later on in my life, not a ton of people, but maybe a handful I've come across. Actually, in our old gig that we did for work, I came across a handful of people who either directly had an infant with SIDS or a sibling, and in all the examples I saw, the kid didn't make it. You know, so like the fact that my mom just like got up and walked over and saved my life just in time because they said in the hospital that I had like a more than 50% chance of brain damage.
Mm-hmm.
It's fucking wild.
Still, the jury's out on whether or not you actually do have
So-
that brain damage. But
So, dude, it's funny because every little idiosyncrasy I blame on SIDS. Every time. Like if I zone out or I forget. So like Lauren sent me out for a ginger ale the other day when I was going to Wawa.
Okay.
Came back without the ginger ale. Blamed it on SIDS.
oh, dude, I do shit like that all the time. Madeline asked me to take a picture of the shopping list that she forgot on her nightstand, and I came home and started messing around with all the difficulties I was having on getting this started. And then she messaged me like, "Hey, can you send me that list?" And I'm like, "Fuck." Like I promised that I would. You know, it's small, but like it's something that you can point to. So the SIDS, and then pick up again from there.
So yeah, like around the age of 9, like this is where I truly believe my life started. So let me back up a little bit. Playing sports was awesome, but I did not have the confidence to enjoy it the way some kids do.
Mm-hmm.
Like every time I was on the pitcher's mound playing baseball, I was nervous as shit.
Mm.
Every time I was playing basketball, I was pretty good, but like I wasn't like in it 100% for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the reason for that is because my dad was over on the sidelines or sitting on the bleachers of the baseball field screaming.
Mm.
So I think from an early age, like I was always trying to like be good enough for him to like tell me good job or like give me that, you know, gratification.
Mm-hmm.
And I really never got it. So yeah, sports, dude, loved it, but I really regret the fact that I didn't get to enjoy it,
Yeah.
you know, and I really didn't get to like own it and make it my own. It was always for him.
So do you have experience with that same nervousness and I guess like yearning for like a fatherly acceptance pop up in like other areas of your life, like just socially or in other situations?
So I think I do. Usually when it's something that like I guess the best example I can give you is work. Like I do look for approval at work. Sometimes I'll kind of like set up what I say in a certain way to subtly get some feedback.
Okay.
But yeah, dude, like I think work is the best example.
Mm-hmm.
But it you know, it's definitely something that I regret. Like I wish that I could go back and really enjoy it and make it my own.
Being more true to yourself.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
like, dude, there's kids that get to play sports when they're young and they're like in it. They love it. They breathe it. They get to experience it. And I was always looking over on the sideline, like hoping not to make a mistake.
Yeah, man. I mean, that was me with soccer. I played soccer for a long time when I was a kid, and I was really good as far as like my league in my town was. And but fear, a different kind of fear, was always preventing me from like upgrading that to like travel or anything until I tried out for high school. But like we'll get into that when I'm on the hot mic. But yeah, I totally relate to the whole low key fatherly thing, and it's weird because I feel like in my journey, maybe not even related to my journey, but just as I've gotten older, I have subconsciously switched that acceptance for my father into a very high standard that I put on myself. And I don't know if you have any experience in that, but like every time when I make a mistake at work, it could be the smallest thing. Everybody says, we were just talking about this out front. Like everybody says, like, it's okay, you didn't do anything, but I just can't fucking let it go. Like I need a good 10, 15 minutes with other things going right past then before I actually can settle down and realize like, dude, just like you're being too hard on yourself.
So that is exactly me in every possible way. So it's really crazy to look back on, dude, because so here I am looking for approval on an emotional level that I didn't get. And I didn't ask for it back then. I don't think I knew how important it was for me to do something where he would be like, yo, you fucking killed it. Like you were the best player on that field or on that court today, right? But I was looking for that. But what's funny about what you said is, so I do consider that experience a certain kind of trauma, just to throw that word on it,
Okay.
right? But what's weird about it is it's like a driving trauma. So it's not like something for me that made me avoid other opportunities in life, right? It's that you just said it. It's this voice I have in my head that just demands a higher standard. And what's weird about it is it's hurt me a shit ton and it's helped me a shit ton.
Yeah.
Like that's what's so weird, dude, is like so they actually I read an article like about a year ago where they did a study in the military. And what they were trying to study was like aptitude and just successful people, right? So what they did was they took like these top performers in the military. I don't know if it was, like a certain group like SEALs or a certain like division of the military. And they looked at the top performers and just did a lot of like interviews and behavioral studies. And what they found of all the top performers was that they all had trauma, but just the right amount. And it creates this voice in their head where, like you said, I will push me forward. And even if everyone else around me is saying, dude, you're good or good job, the only person that I'm now answering to is me.
Yeah.
And it's not
Yeah, I
good
relate
enough.
to that. I relate to that a lot.
You
It sounds
know?
like a Goggins thing. Is that a Goggins thing?
It might be, dude.
It sounds like something that he talked about before.
But what's weird is I know that it's hindered me, but I also am so grateful in a way because it's helped me. But yeah, so like that was kind of how the sports thing was, man. And like that really kind of led me nice little perfect storm into the next chapter, and this is where my life really began, in my opinion. So little side note, do you remember Allen Iverson's first model shoes?
No, dude. No, I only started seeing basketball stuff this past postseason, and just because I mean how many moves the Sixers have made in the offseason, like you kind of couldn't get away from that news. But outside of that, I know fuck all about basketball except for what the average person would know, maybe.
All right, so I slightly regret the fact that you didn't get to experience the Sixers in the Iverson era, but it's all good. So
I remember the jerseys. And I missed that colorway, I must say. I think the colorway was badass.
Yeah, it
Like
was
the
awesome.
black and what was it, like black, silver, red, something
Yep,
like that.
exactly.
Yeah, I missed those.
Yep. So I'm 9 years old, and I'm sitting on my porch in Narberth. This is not too soon before we moved where to Oaks, where I actually grew up, right outside of King of Prussia. I'm sitting on my porch, Iverson jersey, Iverson shoes. I made my poor mom, who was like struggling to make ends meet, always buy me the nicest basketball shoes. And I see this kid who lives like up the road skateboard down the street in stride. Like, I'll never forget, he pushed Mongo, which is a little bit random, right? And he's pushing and he's pushing, and in stride, he just pops the most butter smooth heel flip I've ever seen.
Nice.
Like, sucks up to his feet. He pops this heel flip and just like keeps on riding. And like, dude, I don't know what happened to me in that moment, but I wanted what that kid had so fucking bad. And like, I think that like to peel into that a little bit, right? I think that what I saw that kid had was something that was completely his, that no outside parties were affiliated with. You know, Mike Vallely, a famous skateboarder, has this quote that says, you know, no coaches, no rules, no teammates to blame, just me, the streets, and my board.
What a badass dude he was,
Dude,
bro.
he was.
You remember watching all of his like bar fight videos?
Yeah.
There was that big one where he fought like 4 dudes at once in front of a bar.
Yup.
Just like took his shirt off and just started wailing on them, knocking
Yup.
dudes out.
That they put in the CKY video.
Yes.
And it says,
Yeah.
they called him a skater punk.
He was such a badass, man.
Yeah. So literally like within a couple days of seeing this kid, his name was Matt, do that trick and ride down the road, I quit every single thing I was involved in and bought a skateboard. I literally went to my sports loving dad. Now I needed to loop in my mom to support me, because telling him that I was quitting sports was a big deal.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Right. So I go tell him, like, I quit baseball, I quit basketball, I quit the band. I'm not gonna tell you what instrument I played. It'll ruin my rep. But I quit the band and I bought a skateboard, and like, dude, it literally like gave me everything I was looking for, because I could use that same drive that we're kind of talking about just over and over and over again, and it's me and it's mine, and nothing can influence it. You know, so I got this like incredible rebirth at 9 years old, where this thing kind of took over in my life and nothing else mattered. Like, dude, I mean nothing. For like the next 7 years of my life, before like the party kicked in, I woke up every day, skated from the minute I woke up to the minute I went to sleep.
Yeah, I relate to that for sure. I mean, that's something else that you and I know we have in common, but skateboarding was big for me. And I don't remember, and I did that longer than I played any other sport. I mean, I played soccer for, I don't know, 10 years, maybe. That might be too long. I might be overshooting that. And I played baseball. I played a lot of floor hockey, stuff like that. But like skateboarding was like something that I got so obsessed over. And I don't really know why. I don't know if it's because my parents couldn't sit there and watch me skate around town all day, or if it was like loving the thrill of like throwing myself down like a 9 stair or something. But it was very big for me in terms of overcoming the fear that I was able to overcome in doing the sport. So yeah, dude, skateboarding was big.
Yeah, like for me, it was just a no strings attached passion to have. Like, and you know, it's weird. Like, I know now how difficult sports were in the circumstances of like my dad and my family and the pressure I put on myself. Like, I know that shit now. But back then, I don't think I really felt much of anything for not wanting to play sports. like if you would have said like, yo, are you quitting sports because you don't like sports? I would have been like, no, I love them. Like I don't have anything against anybody. I just saw that dude pop that heel flip and I got to have that.
Yeah.
Right? So it's weird how it was like this like thing that I saw that just took over everything.
Mm-hmm.
And dude, like I'm kind of like this with everything. We've talked about this, but like that, it took over my life.
Yeah.
My Iverson shirt and jersey and shoes went in the closet, and like I went right to the Kmart, bought a skateboard with wheels that wouldn't roll.
Kmart, rest in peace.
And I was off, dude.
Mm-hmm.
So like that, honestly, skateboarding, hanging out. We'll say that was the next 5 years of my life with almost no interruptions.
So with all the years of life that have been covered so far in the story,
Yep.
are there any overarching like negative feelings or characteristics that kind of like permeated throughout all that? So like one of mine is a lot, and I'll talk about this more, the next time we do this, but one of the things I always say is I just never felt like I was okay. Like I just always felt like, and we hear this in the rooms all the time, right? But that's my way of saying it, is it just always felt like something was wrong. And other people say like missing, they had like a God-sized hole in them or whatever it was. Like, did you have anything, like any fear of failing, like anything like that kind of went throughout your childhood in those years?
Did I ever, dude? How much time do we have? No, I'm just kidding. So, all right. So on that topic, like absolutely in every possible way. So I'll start here, right? So I was always looking for like, man, it's so hard to like piece together.
You said there was the approval thing, and
Yup.
that kind of applied in like other areas of your life.
Yup. So I struggled socially a lot internally, but here's the weird thing, and my mom has brought this up to me like 100 times. I had friends all around me and felt completely alone and completely different from other people who were just like me doing what I was doing.
Absolutely.
Passionate about what I was passionate about.
For sure.
If a girl liked me when I was like 12 or 13, like getting into like that age, right? I was just like, I couldn't understand it, dude. Dude, like if ever you like meet my mom randomly, just ask her about that. Like she'll go off on like a rant. I just was looking for some kind of connection that on paper and in real life I had, but I was a million miles away from it emotionally. And like I'll really I don't think I'll be able to say it like I don't think I'll really be able to peel that one back to anything I'm super satisfied with. But I just felt this like incredible difference and loneliness, and all I wanted was just to feel normal and just feel that ease of being a normal person in my environment.
Were you kind of the chameleon type that we hear about in the rooms, like changing who you were or speaking in certain ways depending on who you were around, things like that?
A little bit, not outwardly as much as some of the people I hung with, I don't think, but internally and just like at different times, absolutely. Like I would always like try to tune into what other people were into. I would always try to like tune into like, jokes and stories and like, yeah, dude, I'm not gonna say like I would come to school wearing like this trend
right
and that.
Right.
So outwardly no, inwardly absolutely.
Yeah. So like those kind of trying to fit in, was that like, do you think that was a fear of being alone? Did you think that was solely like a desire to be accepted by others?
Yes, but more than that, all right, so like you know, as soon as I say this, like you've been talking to me for years now, but when I was younger, before I started drinking and getting high, I did not do well with like surface level small talk.
Yeah.
I didn't
Same.
I did not have a real great like like lighthearted sense of humor.
Yeah.
I was what I would consider a little bit of a serious kid
Okay.
who was trying to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, doesn't mean I didn't laugh a lot when I was comfortable. Like growing up in the house, the second area we lived in Oaks, I have vivid memories of like laying on the couch with my mom and sisters, just like cracking up for hours.
Mm-hmm.
But out in the world, dude, like I had this serious, just couldn't lighten up and like just feel okay in the room.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest with you, man, like it's been a lifelong struggle.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've gotten a lot better at it, but I still feel it all the time.
Yeah. And like, I only wanted to harp on those things because, well, not just because of what the name of the podcast is, but like, it's because we're talking about all these feelings, all of you talked about really is like sports, social awkwardness, and I mean, that's, and maybe like an obsession complex when you find something new that you like. And I don't think those things are very unique to drug addicts and alcoholics.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, I'm going to go on kind of a tangent here, but like another reason why I wanted to do this is because I feel like, and I just want to get this out there early, and it probably won't be the last time I say it, but like for a few years now, I've been thinking like, do we in the rooms differentiate ourselves by characteristics and experiences that most of the world actually has to our detriment, and actually further like alienating ourselves maybe a bit more from socially integrating with like normal people or better understanding normal people? And I could be completely out of fucking left field with that, but I hear, and I'm not out here trying to like blow the rooms up by any stretch, but like I hear vernacular like, oh, like I get obsessed with something. Like when I find something and like I obsess over it, like I take it to like 1,000%. Like that's the alcoholic in me. And the part of that statement, that's the alcoholic in me, I think is an error. Like I don't think it's an alcoholic thing. I think that's a human thing. I mean, like athletes are incredibly obsessed with whatever they're obsessed with professionally, right? People get obsessed with things all the time, and it doesn't even have to necessarily be negative things. And you and I have our view on like different vernacular and stuff that's said in the rooms, and I'm not trying to make this the topic for the episode now or anything, but I feel like there's a lot of that kind of language low key that almost like feeds like a weird still like need to be different maybe. And I don't know if you experience this, but like a trend that's in the world right now, I know I'm throwing a lot at you, but a trend that's in the world right now is this weird sense of like attention getting and social importance based on negative aspects of yourself. So it's like if somebody sees you like acting out of pocket at work or something, like, oh, well, you know me, you know, like that kind of stuff. And I mean, there are social trends going on TikTok and stuff right now where like people want mental illnesses or something like that. Yeah. These videos are nuts, dude. I think I showed you and Lauren these before when I was over.
Yep.
But yeah, I think it's weird, man. Like I don't think like we really need that kind of vocabulary to like I really don't think. So like here's alcoholics and addicts and here's everybody else. The only like pathway that separates that consists of a substance problem. And I think that's it. Like you could maybe talk about like health and genetics and stuff, whether this thing's hereditary or not, but I mean, we're not different. I don't think. Like I just like if we say like so many people could use the 12 steps, like how would it help them if they don't have a substance problem? You know what I mean? Like there's something there. I think we all suffer from the same shit. You and I just decided to choose like the wrong way to cope with it.
Yep. Yeah. So, oh man, so much I could say. So I'm going to try to start like like medium here because I don't want to take like the biggest swing for the fences of my life, right? But I think we absolutely do what you said in the beginning. So like if you look at the rooms, it's a lot of things, right? It's a brotherhood and a sisterhood and a community and a support system. But you know what it also is, in my opinion, is a groupthink environment.
Absolutely.
And in
Yeah, yeah.
groupthink environments, there's this thing that happens that I've seen, like to go back to kind of how you asked that question. Yes, we have like a story that we lived, but we start to almost formulate the story to fit the environment. And I think that we sort of inherit certain conclusions that are more harmful than helpful.
Okay.
So like for example, I don't think that it's abnormal to be obsessive about wanting something
Right.
you're passionate about.
Mhm.
I don't think that it is abnormal to be defiant. There's another big one.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think that it's abnormal to like not feel like you fit in and feel like an alien in your own skin
Mhm.
and to have an experience internally that the world doesn't see externally. Like what I mean by that is like if I would tell you, 25 years ago how just different or alone I feel, you might have said like, dude, you got friends, you got a good family, like the feeling that I had was not like obvious in the environment I was in.
Mhm.
I don't think that's abnormal. So
No.
so like I personally agree with you that we are not as unique as we like to think we are.
Mhm.
But I also think that we're trying to put the right storyline on addiction and alcoholism because we're trying to make sense of how the fuck it happened.
Yeah, for
Like
sure.
like dude, when you wake up at the end of years of addiction and look at how bad your life got, good luck making sense of that, right? You know?
Yeah, I mean, I have a thought, and I think that's because I mean, we always say that it's a disease of the mind, right? But I really think a lot of mine was way more. I was way more consciously aware of my mental aspect of the addiction, right? Like I knew I was I was chasing what I was chasing to feel how I wanted to feel,
Mm-hmm.
or not feel how I currently felt is probably the better way to say it. Like I wasn't even homeless until I had like 60 days sober. And like we'll talk about that, next time. But like that is what really tells me, like, when I say I never felt okay, like they just turned that off. And feeling contentment was just something that I'd been longing for what was my first, like, 12 or 13 when I had my first drink. And then when I felt okay finally with everything that I had gone through in those 13 years up until that point, I was just like, I can't ever not feel like this again. You know what I mean? And it sounds like something that we hear a million times, but to me, like that, that very much. There's an Ollie cameo for those of you that don't know Ollie. He has a couple things to say. He's whining and crying and stuff, but he'll be all right. But yeah, I don't know, man. I never really thought it didn't make sense after it was explained to me the way the program explains it, because it just perfectly explained everything for me personally. Um, but yeah, to wrap all that up, I I just truly think, like, I hear the word stigma a lot. And I'm wondering, in today's day and age, with how many of us there are in the world, in the workforce, in society, even though like the success rate is like, whatever, due to what's out on the street these days.
Yup.
Um, I would probably guess the only people keeping the stigma around would be us. I mean, that's my view on it, is like, are we perceiving a stigma that really doesn't exist? Because,
But we want it.
but like, that's my thing, is like, do we want that negative connotation there? I don't think we want to be stigmatized or anything, but I really think if we just kind of stopped thinking like everybody thinks of me as a piece of shit or somebody that's not trustworthy, like maybe things would seem a little bit better. Like everything else in here, our whole outlook on everything now is changed just from simple perspective. So like, why could that be any different?
Dude, I think you just like literally hit on something that's so important for people to hear, because I absolutely think we carry the stigma, and like I don't really want to take us in like a I don't want to take us like down a rabbit hole or speak on anything that I'm really not that versed with, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you mentioned like genetics for a second and like other factors a minute ago. And you also mentioned like wanting to feel okay. I
Mm-hmm.
don't feel okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's just pretend that the base root of addiction is a dopamine deficiency.
Okay.
Don't ask me to explain dopamine. I don't know much, right? I don't know where it starts, how it
Yeah.
works in the body, but
Yeah.
like think about this, right? Check this out. If I have a dopamine deficiency, does the word okay even exist? Is it a possible reality? So like here I am trying like hell to find a
I think
device
you're
or
buzzing.
a device or a behavior that'll fix me because I want to feel okay. But like if it is this this dopamine experience, I'm chasing something I'm not going to be able to find.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so like I'm really really interested in that, man. Like when I go back to kind of like what I've shared so far,
Mm-hmm.
dude, you could have subbed in and out different characters and an environment.
Absolutely.
Beautiful girl, different family, even though my family is the best, right? Um, you know, all of it, I don't think I would have felt okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's just but then again, like to go off what you said, are there way more fucking people that feel that way than we realize?
I would put both of my left nuts on it for sure, dude. Like absolutely. Like, and I mean, we're gonna get back to your story in like right away, but um, I I mean, not to get super dark, but like we're not like there's also mental health facilities. A 302 code is a thing because people feel that, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's not just a way for us to like get like a hot in a cot in a hospital bed, or if you're homeless, or prevent yourself from using again, or for your family to use on you when they're sick of you. Like that's a legitimate thing. And I don't think, and like all of this stuff that other people deal with is I mean, how many past stories do you hear that are just like yours, where like you haven't even pointed to something that happened? You know what I mean? Aside of you like potentially dying as an infant, which you probably don't remember anyway. So like, um, I just think we just made the wrong. And I mean, at first it is a choice. Like I chose to do what I did.
Yep.
After that, I mean, I haven't really delved too deep into it, but one choice definitely led me here. I don't know about all the rest of it, whether I was able to choose yes or no. We could talk about that another time. But I really don't think like our past stories are that different from a lot of people. I always say when I speak, there are way more people that have way worse situations than I did. And I mean, how many back to athletes? Like you'll see, I forget. It was during that whole it was during I think the whole like BLM movement or something. There was this UFC fighter or boxer that like brought his foster dad in, and he was a white guy and the fighter was black. And he said like, this is my dad, so like I don't know like color differences or something like that. This isn't about that. Like we're not going to do that. But like being in a foster home and like not even knowing your parents as a kid, foster homes aren't great, right? And he turned to fighting. You know, he wasn't putting heroin in his body. Like we just I think we just chose the wrong thing. And like I think that's pretty much it. But anyway, to get back, you last left off at you had been we were fast forwarding like 5 years and you had just been like skateboarding and doing other stuff then.
Yeah, so dude, like real quick, just to go off what you just said at the end though, like I really think that we focus so much on the device that we miss the fact that like that driving need of whatever we get into can be just as strong as like a heroin addiction or an alcohol addiction. Like I really do think that like kind of what we're both hitting on right now is when you have that like unquenchable feeling inside that you don't understand, you're just gonna go with what fixes it, man.
Yeah.
Like I truly believe that, you know, and I know for a lot of like addicts and alcoholics and gamblers and whatever, it evolves. Like it progresses and the experience progresses. But the reason why I think that we spend so much time differentiating ourselves is because like I just don't think that we open that pool up big enough for all the people that fit it. You know, but all right.
One
so,
second.
Yeah,
One
yeah,
second.
yeah,
I'm just going to check the recording.
Okay.
And I'll cut this.
I'm gonna caffeinate a little bit more here.
All right. We're going good. Sweet. All right. Back to the story.
All right, skateboarding. So, so I got some really good hits playing baseball. I had some really good moments in basketball that I remember. Not gonna really talk about like the band or the other shit I did, right? But dude, the feeling of being scared to try something on a skateboard and riding away from it, and all your boys tapping their board on the ground and getting all excited.
Yeah.
Unmatchable feeling.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Dude, it is like, it's victory and defeat. It's like standing on the top of the mountain, dude. I got so addicted to that feeling so fast.
Yeah.
And it's weird because another thing I got addicted to was, I don't know, like another thing I loved was the counterculture. Like, dude, if it was not permitted to skateboard somewhere, I'm there, dude. Like,
Yeah, not only because it wasn't permitted, but odds are it's because the spot was really fucking good, and a bunch of other people had already been there enough to put the sign up.
Yeah, right. There's a reason that sign's there,
Yeah.
and you just, dude, you see it, and it's like you're celebrating and experiencing something with your boys that's just yours, that you think other people don't understand, right? There's that little bit of differentiation again. But like, dude, the edge of like the illegal was so attractive to me. You know, and I got to be years later, as I got better at skating, I got to be in the era, you know, late 90s, early 2000s, where Love Park was at its peak in Philadelphia. Dude, like, did you ever, was that a little bit after your time of like the?
No, I got to go to Love Park, but I think it was already too big to really feel comfortable skating in unless you were a regular or good enough in navigating that kind of crowded space to where like if this random like skate rat chick is just sitting on the ledge that you're trying to do, like you're just gonna go and just wait until she moves. Like, but I didn't have that mentality, you know what I mean? Because I was very timid and fearful and all that kind of shit. But I was there.
That's the exact same way I felt at FDR. Like I felt like at FDR Park in South Philly, like if you didn't know the route, I was just gonna like collide with somebody.
Well, back then, especially FDR was, unless I'm mistaken, I could very well be mistaken. It was a little bit like regular friendly. I don't really want to say gatekeeping, but there was a very much a certain attitude to FDR. I haven't been there in years, so I don't know what it's like now, but it was almost like if, and this could easily be perception, right? I could be totally full of shit because there's so many people that I'll see and get to know that look really fucking intimidating to me. And then they just end up being fucking sweethearts. You know what I mean? Yeah. But there was always that edge that was just like, if you weren't like a gnarly bowl carver and like couldn't like carve up that shit and like sweep over a tail slide and like drag your hand, that like, dude, you should probably fuck off and go play with Legos or something. Like that's how I felt. You know what I mean?
Dude, I felt the exact same way. Yo, I would go there. I couldn't even like I'd be like the loser, like throwing my board down and curving up the ramp and going like right back to where I was and just standing there and watching.
Yeah.
You know,
and then looking around to see if anybody was just like this fucking pussy, bro. Just fucking do something or get out. Yeah, that's exactly how I felt, dude.
So FDR even more than Love Park for that. Like I wouldn't say for me it had that vibe, but like, dude, just to put it all together, man. So I'm 15 years old. I'm skipping high school. getting high as a kite,
Mm-hmm.
feeling all connected and good and okay,
Mm-hmm.
going to this place that's illegal to go to,
Mm-hmm.
watching my childhood heroes skateboard and experiencing all of it with my friends. How do you get a better life than that?
But you still, I mean, did that make you feel
Oh, dude, it was everything. It,
okay?
it was like, and I don't really want to go. I don't really want to say that like it fixed anything,
Right.
but like the thought of having problems did not exist.
Cool.
Like the amount of just like excitement and like just pure joy of what I was doing
Mm-hmm.
was just like I've never experienced anything like it. But and here's something like I realize about my story, right? Because I got this love of skateboarding. I got this love of drugs and alcohol. I got this little defiant little counterculture thing going on. And now I got this place to go that's just like every skate kid in Philly's dream.
Yeah, or the
Uh,
world. Yeah.
Right? Yeah, number 2 in the country at
Yeah.
the time, right? And I just think like looking back, man, like where I was and that like that chase and that joy and that feeling, like I wasn't coming back.
Hmm.
Like there was no way that I was gonna like a year later go get a full-time job and come back to some normal life. Like to make this very inclusive, I just enjoyed what I was doing and was so excited on what I was doing for the first time that like there was no way that I wanted anything to do with like a normal life.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that, man. Like I thrived on it. And yeah, it's just crazy to think like I when I hear someone share their story, I'll say it this way. When I speak or like when I'm talking like in front of people, I say this in joking, but I'm not joking at all. I say, I bet you my childhood was better than your childhood.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And what I mean is like that combination, dude, like friends and like the joy of landing the trick and Love
Mm-hmm.
Park and drugs and no responsibility.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like, dude, I rode that wave as long as I could, man. And I didn't care. I didn't care for the years that came next what I had to give up or lose. I was going to try to go back there over and over again.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
dude, it's just like I literally can feel like right now what it felt like to walk up the stairs of Love Park and throw my board down when I'm supposed to be at high school.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing like it.
Cool. Well, that concludes the episode on the pro that never made it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
I'm a could have been.
Yeah.
100%.
So when was the first time you dabbled? Let's jump up to there.
So I feel so lame saying this. I was a 420 kid. April 20th of
What a poser.
yeah, dude, so lame. I've thought about changing that date when I speak, but so April 20th of 2000. I had drank before, but like never really. I don't know, man. Like I had snuck out into the woods and like drank warm beer with my friends. Like it was nothing to write home about. But I'm 15 years old. I'm skateboarding. I'm at Perk Valley High School, like outside of Collegeville, and my buddy's got this gravity bong, and I've never smoked before. And,
Oh shit,
dude, So we got a gravity bong and like a $10 bottle of gin.
Sweet.
And I remember taking a couple hits off of the bong and, like we're skating around. I take a couple sips and like, that you hear all these words, man, a moment, a spiritual experience. Like I had such a profound experience when that buzz kicked in. And what it really was for sure, like yes, I skated and had a lot more fun. That was secondary, right? But what it was I was completely connected to all those people like I never was before. And like that was my first high and real drunk. And like I was a quick take. I was not the kind of guy that like did it on the weekends, right? I just something flipped, man.
Yeah.
And it's wild looking back on like I stayed away from drugs and alcohol like maybe a year more than my friends because I was afraid to like give up my skate dream.
Okay.
Like we were decent. We were like top tier in our high school,
Yeah.
right? And this was back when like skateboarding was realistic.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could like 50-50 a handrail and that was a big deal.
Yeah, you're not doing what like Yuto is right now or
Yeah.
anything, and just absolutely destroying anything that you touch.
Yeah, like it was an era where like you could get close to that level.
Yeah.
But dude, like man, I took real fast and
That's that I had arrived moment.
yup.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and like that moment, like I'd love to dig into this with you. Like
Yeah.
that moment is so profound for like a potential drug addict or alcoholic. Dude, it's like a it's like a heart transplant.
Mm-hmm.
Like it comes in for I should probably say for me, like it comes in and just takes everything that you knew before that and just puts it aside.
Yeah.
And like I really think that overnight my personality, my priorities, my values, and just everything changed. And I didn't even know it. And it might not even have shown up right away.
Yeah, it's and it's I mean, I don't think that there's no correlation between you always feeling, you didn't use these words, but like socially awkward, very different, and then all of a sudden you didn't, just from doing this one thing, which is pretty easily attainable, might cost you a little bit of money, and not have many consequences outside of positive ones at first. Now, from what you're looking at when you first tried and feel that thing. But that's what I mean when I say like when I first I don't want to say drank, but when I first got drunk, or like when I remember being a fucking head case when I first smoked pot. Like pot just never really jived with me, but that's besides the point. I felt okay. You know what I mean? And like nothing changed outside of the fact that I wasn't so thinking about myself and perceiving myself through how I thought other people were looking at me. So I need to make sure I don't look like that. And I need to make sure I don't say this stupid thing that's popping up in my head, even though upon my investigations in sobriety, I always like to say like I'm just as weird as I thought I was when I was always scared to talk, but I found out that it's not as socially unacceptable as I thought it was. Like it turns out like my weirdness isn't really all that bad, I think. I mean, I don't know. But yeah, man, I mean that moment is so incredibly profound, and that fills up that hole in the gut. You know what I mean? It's just like, because that's where all of that centers for me. And I think like the disease part of it, I mean, I use that word disease loosely because I don't really know how I feel about the word, but the thinking, sure, thinking is like a pattern thing, but where I truly feel like this thing centers is whether or not I feel okay. I mean, like, how many times he's just itching to do something, man.
Yeah. Why are you guys so focused?
Yeah, I told you, ever since we got his work done, he's just been a whole new dog. It's been beautiful. But like, I mean, even like we talk about in the rooms, like when we're not doing what we're supposed to do, like you could go out and you could go back out, and it's not. And there is a thinking portion of that can be like put in on top of this, but what happens when you stop going? You don't feel good. Like that not returns, for me at least. So like, and that's what I was always trying to treat, was that not. So I just love how you worded it, like all of the things that you had been dealing with just went away. And it's such a common thing to say, but it's important and profound, like you said, and really permeates through all of us. And also points to what I said is like, we just made the wrong choice in the thing that does that. You know what I mean? That's what we chose to latch on to. Like you had a fork in the road moment. I believe everybody's day sometimes like by the hour, has like forks in the road of like choices you can make. And yours was skateboarding or what brought you here. You chose what brought you here.
Dude, it's so crazy, man. Like what, let's go back to like this thing that I kind of like, you know, threw out there a little bit. Like if it has to do with like dopamine or something like that, and all that I got on 420 of 2000 was a rush of dopamine. What if it was really that simple, dude? Like again, I can't really like speak any more like sophisticated on it, but I love how you said that. I literally had this feeling for years. I thought about it, I worried about it, I overthought about it, I tried to fix it. I hope people didn't notice it.
Mm-hmm.
And within literally 30 minutes, the even possibility of that feeling was completely gone.
Right.
Like I didn't have a conscious thought, I fit in now.
Yeah.
None of us do, I don't think.
Yeah.
It was gone, dude. Like all that there was just a lightheartedness, for me, a lot of laughter and a connection that didn't exist before. So like it's so hard to even fucking fathom that. Like something that I lost so much sleep over in my own way, maybe not literally, but maybe,
Mm-hmm.
was fixed and gone like that. And I didn't even have to think about it, worry about it, or try to mess with it.
And like all you did was bring about a chemically induced perception change.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what it is. And that's what the spiritual experience is in the program, is like having this, not only this experience of associating like doing proper things and getting results that were better than what you thought you wanted in your life, right? But I mean, I'm a huge believer in, it's so fucking corny, but the only quote I can think of to communicate it is like the world is the world is what you make it. But I think it's not from the outside. It's literally like the world that you exist in right now. Reality can change simply based on how you think. And it's so weird that we had all these different, I mean, we'll get into more of it, but like all these different chemicals and shit that you and I have done. And we were just trying to tap into that other perception because I was okay. I felt okay in that perception because I believe that's truly how my mind was meant to work. You know, that's how my mind works almost every day now. It's the same way it worked when I was high, just more productively, not checking my pulse. You know what I'm saying? And just none of the other kind of trials and tribulations that come with it. None of the pain, none of the hurt, whether it's upon myself or others. Like, and it's and we have other ways to access that now, which is really cool. So yeah, wherever you left off. Actually, one more second. Madeline's gonna take little guy out for a walk.
Nice.
Sorry for anybody that's watching and has been watching in the dark for a little bit. Kind of got lost in Nick's beautiful, already dark eyes. So yeah, we were talking about you finally like feeling okay and stuff around like all those people with your first experience.
Yeah, so like one thing that I think about a lot, right, as I like talk about this and dig into this, is this to me, like for me, explains that question that everybody wants to ask addicts and alcoholics, right? Like, bro, why'd you take it so far? Like, why'd you get into like, you know, the drugs you got into and all the trouble? And like, if I really look at it, I could give you many reasons, but like the main reason is when I feel the way I felt, experience what I experienced, which like we kind of both agreed on paper was not worse than the next guy necessarily, but it was this internal experience. I fixed it. I experienced a comfort and a connection that I ran with. Like, my belief for me is I'm not coming back from that. You got to pry me out of that shit.
Yeah.
You know, like you're not just going to say like, hey, Nick, you know, you really should get your life together, man. You're 18. Like, why don't you get a job?
Yeah, I
Okay?
need you to sign up for like feeling that horrible feeling that
Yeah,
permeated throughout your life again.
right?
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
how I
like,
always took it.
yeah, like, it's been fun and like, you know, but you're 19 now. Like it's time to get it together. So like, all right, awesome. Like that's not happening, dude.
Yeah.
Like and it's funny how like I think that like I knew that.
Hmm.
Like and I always kind of share this and say this. I was not going back. I had like a quest as my early adulthood years started to kick in. I'm not giving the shit up.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna figure out how to live a life that's sustainable with the shit.
Hmm.
Like I'm not gonna like move away from anything I'm doing.
Right.
I got a feeling that I'm trying to recreate every day,
Hmm.
an okayness I'm trying to recreate. Like I'm gonna be the guy, the one, right?
Hmm.
That's gonna figure out how to do both
Yep.
together successfully.
Hmm.
You know, and I think that that's really important for like a lot of people to hear, man, is that maybe that's one of the differences between like a super to the end overdoses, arrests, and a not is you gotta pry it away from certain people because the experience it gives them is so powerful.
Hmm.
You know?
I think that could also be a perception thing. Or maybe, I don't know, man. I don't really know what to say about that. Like the first reaction I have is it could just be how susceptible people are to viewing the severity of their consequences. Like what's
Mm-hmm.
severe to people
Mm-hmm.
and like what is something that they're just willing to tolerate. Like people are obviously willing to tolerate living on the Ave. You know what I mean? And everything that comes along with that, whether before the city cleanup or after, you know? Um, and other people, especially for those that started later in life, severity is losing that wife that didn't know this part of you existed because it didn't for like 5 to 20 years. And then
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden it does. And then this person that's been a constant part of your life is now fucking gone. Like I feel like it could be a lot of different factors, but mainly I think everything's perception pretty much. But
Well, I
yeah.
would have to agree too because like we all like I'm sure I guess that you get this too, but like you ever sit in like a meeting or like hear somebody talk about their story and on one side you feel like they weren't as bad as you.
Hmm.
Or on the other side, you listen to somebody's story and you're like, holy fuck. Like, how did you do that?
Yeah.
Right. And it makes sense what you're saying. Like, I kind of feel like it's absolutely true is we all have different severity of consequences that are acceptable to us.
Dude, when I was working for a call center, I'll never I can't remember it in like great detail, but I will never forget this phone call in general for as long as I live. There was this there was this young girl. I think she was between the ages of like 16 and 19, something like that, or maybe early 20s, and just had like the most innocent sounding voice on the phone. And I'm just sitting there in like my little cubicle or whatever. This is before I blew that job up with like my mental illness and shit. It was like during lockdown. I was forced to work. I mean, not forced, but like I had to work from home, and I don't do well with being a shut in. I just don't. But I digress. And we started going through her usage, and she talked about like doing like an 8 ball a day with like 3 bars and like half a bundle with this like sweet sounding little girl voice on the phone and talking about how she's sleeping in a car that she found and no emergency contact type of thing. And I'm just like I mean, first of all, it blew me out of the water as a user because my usage never looked like that. You know what I mean? So like, there's like a side note, like there's that thing of your life was way worse or better than mine, and your usage was way worse or better than mine, and like those are two different things that I noticed like accidentally or whatever. But I will never forget. I was just like, how the fuck are you calling me right now? And I'll never forget, like, I think I had to like call the facility to which I was getting her in, or put her on hold because I had to get like an email conversation started, and like there just wasn't. It would have taken like a couple hours, and I don't know if we never took her insurance or what, but I remember hanging up that phone call thinking that like I might be the last person she talks to before she uses and dies today. You know what I mean? Because like and like to wrap it all back into the topic that we went on a tangent from is like I just don't like nothing's gonna stop her. You know what I mean? Like it was almost like a horror thing, dude. Like you hear this little girl's voice on the other end of the line, scared as shit. She's banging like enough drugs to kill like 3 grown men every day, and like it is. I mean, we have dark humor. Like
Yeah.
it is a funny thing, but and I remember being so at the same time like so surprised and equally as heartbroken because like I mean we're you and I have experience in and still live very close to basically what the New York Times wants to spread in calling the Walmart of drugs in Kensington. I don't know if you remember that, like they had a fucking booklet in the paper about it. Like um but even still, man, like I hear shit now, and even aside from like the xylazine and the trank that's going on right now, where like people like Zombieland is literally becoming closer to Zombieland with like desecrated limbs walking around there. Um, it's just like like how the fuck are you doing this? You know what I mean? Like I couldn't imagine what it's like, and now to really tie it all back in is I can't imagine what it will take for this chick to stay sober if she has already experienced all of the consequences that come with that kind of use, right? Like you talked about prying, and like I agree. Is like what the fuck is it going to take? And that's one of those things that I say that I know people on the outside maybe said about me. So like, am I really them? And I just don't understand. But like some of these stories, man, they just really hit you in a different way.
So off what you said about the current Kenzo climate, if I worked in a rehab, like not like a suburban kind of well-off rehab,
Mm-hmm.
like a down hard rehab, I just feel like I'd feel like a total pussy. I just it's like I can relate to you, but holy shit, I can't relate to you.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, and dude, it's crazy though, like how like we say the bottom came up, well now it goes way back down, but
yeah.
like it's normal to some people.
Mm-hmm.
And but I think that that's the way people felt about us. What's it going to
For
take?
sure.
Like that's the way people felt when I had an overdose and went into jobs that I worked hard to get and literally got fired for falling asleep on my feet
Mm-hmm.
standing there looking at people, right? That was
Mm-hmm.
bad.
Yeah.
Now it's like completely different, but it does, like, I don't know, man, it does kind of prove the point of like you never know, and what consequences are intolerable.
Mm-hmm.
And what's weird about that is, see, this is where I think that like people like us and our circle like to kind of go into like the higher power direction or the spiritual direction.
Okay.
Sometimes it's not what you think at all that gets somebody's attention,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like I
It's
know,
just random.
yeah, like
Yeah.
I know I'm kind of going to like the end here, so like if we want to kind of go back or like hit on other stuff, like by all means. But one of the things that got my attention after an overdose and almost losing my arm and different stuff was I was with my aunt one day, who was a paramedic in Roxborough for like 20 years. And she basically told me like we're talking, and oh, like you know how bad what you're fucking with is, and
Mm-hmm.
like you got to stop. But then she says this to me, and I had this like shattering ego moment of total pride, and I'll think of some other words to
Yeah.
use, right? Where she said, Nick, let me tell you what happens when you overdose and die. We arrive at the scene. we try to save you. Now, how long we try to save you depends on the mood of the paramedic on any given day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I just got to say real quick, like anyone that watches this that lost somebody, like, you know, I mean no disrespect to anybody who's experienced
Absolutely.
that or
Yeah,
suffered from
yeah.
it, you know, but it just really had an impact on me. She said, how long they work on you totally depends on the mood of the paramedic. When you are considered, you know, like you're gone, they take you to the morgue, they put a little tag on your toe, and they ask their friend where he wants to go to lunch, and you die as nothing.
Hmm.
And like, I'm not necessarily saying I agree with that in any way, but dude, when she said that to me, it hit me so fucking hard.
Hmm.
Like, and I had never thought of like all those little details, but like, just picturing my legacy being like that, dude, it rocked me. Now, I didn't stop at that moment
Right.
or that same month, but that was the one thing that I needed to hear that kind of shot me back into reality somehow.
Hmm.
And where I was at and what I was doing at the time I heard that was like any other day.
Right.
You know, but yeah, dude, like the girl on the phone with the story you gave, like that's the craziest part is you never know when that one thing's going to click. And like we said, like you said, perception, right? What if when that one thing clicks, your perception about yourself and your problem completely shifts?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just fucking wild,
Yeah, man.
you know?
So what did life and usage look like towards the end of your little career that you had?
So I lived in Queens Village, that like blocks from the spot you took me to speak one
Mm-hmm.
time. Awesome apartment, $750 a month for a 2-bedroom apartment. Fucking unheard of in
Working?
today's world. What's that?
Working? You were
Nope.
working? Okay.
I was begging and pleading my family for help and manipulating.
Mm-hmm.
And I also had met this woman who would give me $10 an hour to go do landscaping at these properties she owned.
Okay.
So I was doing some of that. But here's kind of what a day in the life of toward the end looked like. I was unemployable at this time. I had a beautiful girlfriend, now wife, who was literally like my saving grace, right? Like what this girl saw in me and why, you'd have to ask her. Like, I don't fucking get it. I don't fucking get it. Right. But
I still don't know the answer to that question.
I don't I mean, but so anyway, I had this bedroom upstairs in this apartment with a mattress on the floor and like 2 shitty dressers and like nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to say that I was like, you know, super like poor. Like my family bought me like ramen noodles and Campbell's soup and like cheap food. Like really blessed for that, right? But I would wake up every morning in a panic. Like I'll never forget it, dude. It was not like it is earlier when you're using, where you're just like, you wake up and the first thing that goes into your mind is like, do you have anything left from the night before?
Mm-hmm.
I would literally wake up and my eyes would just like shoot up or shoot open. And I would just have this 60 seconds of like, where the fuck am I? And why am I not at work? And what am I doing? And oh my God, like it's so crazy looking back on that. I would wake up in a total state of panic 7 days a week.
You had that. First of all, I think it's called a Freudian slip when you said shoot up instead of shoot open.
Yeah. That too.
So yeah, we'll leave that where it is.
Yeah.
Don't think I didn't hear it. But yeah, like you describe like waking up and feeling all of that, and what the book says is like our problems pile and pile on top of each other until they become astonishingly difficult to solve.
Mm-hmm.
Like you think about all of these problems that came one at a time, like incrementally, sometimes like years in between, but you repeatedly, well, I repeatedly in my experience with it, just use or drink about it and don't do anything productive to solve the problem. And then all of those things eventually like snowball into this huge fucking thing that really what you learn in sobriety, like, or with any other problem that you've just been putting off just for like regular people, you have to tear it down the same way that it built back up, which is piece by piece. But I didn't know that. You know what I mean? That wasn't an option to me. It was like in the next 24 hours, I need to tackle all of this or I'm going to be a fucking loser. And that thought followed all of the thought of the problems. But in order to not feel like a fucking loser, I need to drink or get high about it so I don't feel that way. And then usually it was like, okay, I'm going to go apply for jobs, but I just need to walk that 7 miles to Southwest for $10, you know, which was like towards the end of my story. But then I dedicate my whole entire day to scheming and hurting people in order to get what I need, in order to get what I need after that and figure out how I'm going to get to where I need to go to get what I need. And then before you know it, I'm just nodding out again in my room by myself, but feeling great because I'm not thinking about my problems again. But I go to sleep content with having not done anything about it because I'm high.
Yep.
And it's like this weird fucking cycle that we just never know that we're in until we're out of it.
And dude, like think about how radically insane that shift of perspective and feeling is. Like that's exactly what would happen to me. Like you just narrated it perfectly. And like so what I would do is I would wake up with that panic. I would proceed to manipulate or scheme or whatever, get fronted.
Mm-hmm.
I had a couple not so intelligent dealers that would, and I kind of played that off like well enough, right?
Yeah.
But dude, like when I would get that feeling of okayness again wash over me for about 10 minutes, the possibilities were limitless.
Yeah.
I'm going to go get a great job. I'm going to get back into my career. I'm going to be a great boyfriend. Like I could almost say that for 10 minutes, I was able to dream about a life where I was okay again before reality kicked back in. And it's like, it's amazing to me that this thing up here can go from a physiological, legitimate panic to I'm on top of the world and I have limitless potential and I'm completely fine like that.
But let me not do anything with that feeling. Let me just feel it. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And like, and
because that's the goal.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's amazing how that was my day in and day out, dude. And then, my lovely wife would come up to Philadelphia where I was living. She lived out by King of Prussia, not far from the city. And like, we would hang out and like we would walk around Queens Village. That's what we would do. We would walk to the 7-Eleven down on Washington. I think it was like 8th or 9th in Washington.
Okay.
And just buy Haagen-Dazs ice cream and coffee and eat it and drink it. And that was like our relationship. But dude, like I would literally sit outside of my apartment when I knew that she was parking and walking to the apartment. She was really good at finding spots too. I don't know how, right? So she would park and she would walk up. And dude, like it's really amazing how not only was she my access and not only was she kind of an enabler and like a friend and someone I loved and was like so into, but dude, like it was literally like my savior was walking up from the distance. And that was every single day of my life. Wake up in a panic, figure out how to fix it, get to dream for 10 minutes, do a bunch of nodding off and scheming and lying and and then my saving grace comes over and I try to save face just long enough to go to sleep and do it all over again.
Yeah, for sure.
It's just so amazing. Like everything I had before that that was good enough for me to not change was gone.
Yeah.
So unemployable. Couldn't keep a pulse. There were plenty of days where I would come downstairs and I would literally say to my wife, if I go out, call 911. Like, dude, just absolutely crazy desperate. And I'm just so glad that like man, if it was today's world, I'd be dead.
Yeah.
I'd be fucking dead
Yeah, I
as a
always think
doornail,
that.
dude.
I always think that. Yeah.
Like the infrequency that an addict would overdose during that era, because this was 10 and a half years, almost 11 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like the infrequency that you could live that life and not really overdose, dude, in today's world, it's like flip of a coin,
Yeah, absolutely.
you know.
Yeah.
But that's what it was like, man. And I am so grateful for that, because I know that I absolutely am capable of going back there.
Yeah. I always think like I'm convinced that the obsession is gone, and that doesn't mean like, and I think some people judge themselves on whether or not they think about it from time to time. I think about it from time to time. It's a fleeting thought, but it pops in my head. Um, I mean, we had the same bottle of like some kind of like alcohol bottle in its moved apartments. You know what I mean? Like that's how long we've had it before I threw it out like a number of months ago, and it just never phased me. You know what I mean? And not saying that that's like that's how the program's supposed to work, but I I always think like I'm taking myself. I feel like I'm more susceptible to taking myself out before I go back to that life. And it's not like, oh, would you rather? Like I would rather take myself out. It's that I think that for me specifically, like I'm more susceptible to that. Not like it's like 50-50 every day. You know what I mean? Like nobody needs to call for help, but I think if like push came to shove, I'm way more likely to do that than do the other.
Yeah, I totally can relate. Like when I think about that dreadful possibility of ever going back, I don't really put the scenery and the situation like there, like at that level.
Mm-hmm.
But I just more look at it like, what if I go back to a place where I'm completely internally lost again
Right.
and capable of anything?
Mm-hmm.
And like taking myself out could be a total possibility, but like, I always say to people, or I said to a lot of people for a lot of years at the job that we both got to have and enjoy, the part that scares me the most is not handcuffs and ambulances and crying mothers and all that. I'm not a hard knock. Like all that scares me,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like if you said, "Yo, we're going to jail," come on, like I'd be scared.
Yeah.
I don't want to
Yeah.
make
Same.
it like I'm some
Same.
hard ass.
Yeah.
But the part that scares me the most is like just having to be that empty again and that desperate, and literally like living for a feeling that I can only have for about 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Scares the living fuck out of me.
Yeah, for sure.
And like whatever that feeling is, man, like maybe it's what I used to do, maybe it's something else, but like just that level of like brokenness and desperation,
Mm-hmm.
it's just it's real, but like I don't know, man. It scares me.
Yeah. No,
You
I
know?
get that for sure. I think a lot of us do. So let's get up to, what do you think the turning point was? Like, do you have a moment where, I mean, I've heard your story a million times, but I hear a lot of people's stories, whatever. Um, do you have a moment that you can point to that kind of made you willing to like maybe try the path of like actually turning things around?
So I think I could point at a lot of things, but there's two moments in particular that were really big for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I just got to say, like, I don't know who the guy was that was the character in these moments, because it was so unlike me.
Mm-hmm.
So like, to back up a little bit before I get there, I at the end of my road, like, the end of that year in the city, and I had moved to the suburbs 2 months before the end for me, but I had had the overdose and the thing with my arm. I had this like, I pierced a capillary and had this like crazy reaction and had to go to the emergency room.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, dude, it was fucking terrifying.
I bet, dude.
It literally felt like somebody like set my arm on fire, and it swelled to like the size of the Incredible Hulk's arm in like 2 minutes flat.
Nice.
Fucking terrifying. But but anyway, I got another arrest and you know, had all that shit happen. So I go to rehab, and I get out of rehab after 45 days in hopes that my PO is going to be like, good job, like you're good. And I get out of rehab, and I call her, and she says, Nick, I'm done with your shit. Turn yourself in or wait to get picked up. And this was 2 weeks before I walked off 5 years of probation. So I go and I turn myself in, and this is really where it happened for me, in jail, right? And the first experience was I'm sitting in this cell waiting to go on telecourt. Because like when you're on a probation violation, you go on like maybe other situations do too, but you go on this like these telecourt sessions, and they're called like gag hearings. And it's like a month in or 3 weeks in, I've just been, you know, playing spades and eating ramen noodles and living the fucking life, right? And I'm sitting in this cell with these guys, and they're all talking about like how they're going to beat their case and how their charges are bullshit and the cop fucked them over and this and that, right? Like typical county jail talk, maybe other jail talk, I wouldn't know. And they're talking, and out of nowhere, man, this voice that was mine says, I deserve to be here. Dude, that's probably one of the first times in my life that I genuinely took responsibility for anything.
Right.
I really don't know who said that. And the guys all just kind of looked at me and just went right back to talking. But dude, I just randomly like took responsibility for the fact that like every single thing that led me up to that moment was completely my fault. And like it was kind of fleeting, you know, like I know the more that we work on ourselves in whatever way we do, a lot of times that feeling and that truth will grow. But dude, like some guy took responsibility for the fact that he fucked up and deserved to be where he was. And that had like a serious impact on me. And when I was getting out of jail after about 2 months, I was in the cell where you get all your, you know, you get your street clothes and you wait for like the time where they let you out, and everybody's scheming, you know, they're talking about how many bags they're going to get and what bar they're going to go to. Yeah. And dude, like I'm sitting there, and I had this realization, nothing crazy, just this thought, I'm not going to do any of that. I'm going to go to a meeting and keep this thing going. Might not have sounded like that. Like, I don't remember what the words were, but dude, I had these like 2 moments in jail. I guess like, you know, I was clean and I was like miserable and skinny because they starve you. But dude, like I just had these 2 moments where I just kind of like knew that my path was going to take a different course. Like I really believed it. And I really do think that for me, part of the journey started with like somehow being honest with myself in that cell.
Yeah.
You know?
So like the moment that I always point to for me is somebody asked me once when I was in rehab, because I was very set on like, even though I was homeless at that point, effectively homeless. Like I didn't have anywhere to go, had nowhere to go. Parents were sick of it, all that stuff. And then I would end up like, I guess accidentally cashing in on that homelessness later. But I was asked the question, you've been in control of everything in your life up until this very point. How's it going and where are you at? And
God, I hate that question.
There wasn't a way to bullshit it, dude. There just wasn't. And I was a homeless heroin addict in rehab. And then for whatever reason, speaking those words and getting to the place to speak those words took me on this flashback of a journey where I saw my whole entire life of not using to end up that way, like promising myself and everybody else I would never end up that way. I had all these plans and things that I was going to get to, right? Quote unquote, get to. But and I go through all of those moments that I had where like I can't let this get worse. I can't let this get worse. I can't let this get worse. And I was there. I was everything that I said I wasn't going to be. And in that moment I also like the way the question was asked associated my current living state in that moment with me following what I thought was best. And I saw all of those moments when I declined advice or declined help, and people trying to help me and point me towards a better direction and give me better things to do, better ways to carry myself. I just threw them in the shitter. I didn't care because I knew better. I knew myself better than anybody else knew me. But in that moment, I was just like, holy shit. Like I literally brought myself here. And like that's what your story reminded me of, not just because it's a moment, but you said like you, for whatever reason, were stripped of like all excuses and you didn't blame anybody else but yourself. And I feel like we're big Peterson guys, right? And like he always talks about the meaning of life is found in responsibility. And ever since I've heard that, I realized like that's what happened to me. It was short lived. Like my ego, the regenerative properties of the human ego were like very, very big. Mm-hmm. And mine came back in a way where, I mean, I'll talk about it another time, but I mean, at that moment, like taking responsibility for my own actions and why I was where I was and what my life was, what it was, absolutely helped me succeed in the moment and like the number of days or weeks to come for the time being.
So what I find crazy about like both of our experiences, right, of like, you know, having that moment and like kind of that responsibility that's the underlying theme is that, dude, like my sponsor used to joke with me early on. He was always really good at like occasionally putting something really important into a joke. Mm-hmm. And he used to tell me, yo, be careful when you're telling the truth, because when you really tell the truth to yourself and another person, maybe you can't take it back. Mm-hmm. And like, dude, like it's wild, right? Like when I realized that it was all my fault and that I had nobody to blame but me, it, in a strange way, it made it a lot harder to go back into like blaming and fucking delusion.
Right.
You know, and it really like shifted my path around. It doesn't mean that like I didn't have all those same struggles, but dude, I really believe that like, you know, gut level honesty has a similar effect on perspective as like a drug in some situations. Mm-hmm. Like it'll literally like put everything back into the right frame. And I for me, like I think looking back, I got like a crazy amount of hope. Not that like I was gonna whatever, like fill in the blank, get, you know, be what Lauren, my wife, wanted or job or any of that shit, but just that like there was like a path to go down. Mm-hmm. You know, like I was just wallowing in all of that bullshit that we live in for so long. And I really think like when someone gets gut level honest, you know, and it's weird, man, because how many times were you in a meeting or a rehab prior to this and someone asked you a question and you gave the right answer, but it wasn't the truth?
Yeah.
Like how many times might you have said something like, I gotta try another way. My way doesn't work. Mm-hmm. Like, dude, the number of times I said that with zero truth behind it is amazing.
Yeah.
But like when you really lay out like a gut level truth, dude, I'm telling you, like it changed everything for me.
My opinion on that is well, what I always thought is like a lot of my just ongoing fear that like transcended every subject matter that I would live through or any conversation I had, whatever situation I was in, it was always there. Just this like fear of something that was going to happen. I think it's almost and this is just pure speculation, but it sounds good to me, right? Is because I low key knew that I couldn't trust myself because I was always lying and I was always lying to myself. And again, to go back to the Peterson like conversation, is like I never treated myself good. I just didn't. And I think like in the moment when you finally treat yourself with a little bit of love in a way that doesn't seem loving, because you think like being honest is going to fucking kill you at first, and you think being honest is going to isolate you. You think being honest is going to just ruin your life, right? Like nothing's going to be the same after that. Even if that ends up being true, you still end up feeling better, which makes like even if that fear that you have does happen, it makes it so it's really not as bad to go through as you thought it was. And like I really think like that reaction that you're talking about is all of a sudden like I did something that was good for me. And then there's also like another layer of getting things out that are blocking you from like the whole God thing, right? And like we always talk about like you got to get all of it out so like you could let more God in. And there's just so many different aspects to that I think are key. I think we're going to split these up. So like we went through a lot of like your history and what your childhood was like, what it looked like through your usage, what it looked like up until the end. Peeled layers back on quite a lot of things. I'm getting hungry. I'm just going to be honest. I'm starving right now. So like, and I don't even know how long we've been going on for. You know, like you and I could talk for like months about all this kind of shit, which is why we're doing this. But so I think like I'm trying to think of like a good summary, but as a whole, outside of the usage, I think we hit on like quite a few things that we deal with that a lot of other people deal with. So like, I mean, everybody gets afraid, right? Everybody gets afraid. People want to be accepted, even if they're just standoffish assholes, like standoffish assholes.
Mm-hmm.
Like people want to be loved. And I just don't think that's unique to us. But in terms of like advice that we would have in like those, in the summary of those kind of things, I mean, fear, what is the God, there's a saying from the book that I'm gonna forget and not say.
I'll try and back you up if I can.
No, I'm not even gonna try. Don't need to embarrass myself on episode 1 more than the video quality is already embarrassed. But like but fear is like in my opinion like the biggest blocker to growth, both like outside and inside. And I mean, you pointed to a moment in your life that changed, that you very well couldn't have been here, that was probably associated with fear in getting honest. Like getting, like that's always like the AA saying, right? Especially amongst the guys, like, get honest, dude, get honest. Like I heard that a million fucking times from union guys in South Philly, right?
Yep.
And but like all fear is a control issue, right? And you just got to walk through that shit, man. And like you will never not be afraid if you don't face one at least once. And I can't really point to a time where I did something that I was afraid of, and the thing that I was afraid of, when the thing that I was afraid of actually happened, I mean, I'm still here. I didn't die, right? My life isn't burnt to smithereens. Like, everything always ends up okay. Like, you just got to have that, like, eyes closed, like, jump off the cliff moment. And I think it's really important for people to hear.
Yeah, I mean, it's I forget who it is that says it, but they say like if you look at your life's batting average of survival, you're batting 1,000.
Yeah.
Right?
I love
like,
that. I
like
love that.
nothing that we've ever done or been through or worried about has ever taken us out yet.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like hopefully that's the same tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And yeah, I just think like with fear, man, it's wild how it's wild how much we, man, it's like fear is so much driven, I think, out of this need to like you said, control, but like get this feeling or this instinct fulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of like wrapping up a lot of what we talked about before. I think a big part of overcoming fear is allowing ourselves to believe it's going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that like if I either stay where I'm at and don't run or take one step forward, it's really going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Even if my mind's not capable of believing that.
Right.
And I don't know, I just like I have this like feeling that I just need to say that, so many people out there that do things that are taking them in a bad direction or go down the path we did, they're chasing a feeling of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
And I really do think that like that's what's rooted in so many of the directions I hope we go with this. Like the people we talk to
Mm-hmm.
and the stories we get to hear is like when you're chasing a feeling or an experience that has fear all over it,
Mm-hmm.
probably, it's just amazing like how dark it can get, but like how much like being honest can turn you around,
Absolutely.
you
And
know?
just to like wrap up the whole fear thing, like I I am very much a believer. Like this thing that I always think about is um I didn't I didn't learn that things were going to be okay through fear like overnight. Like I didn't start walking through fear willingly when it popped up because that's what we're taught in the program is to face those fear challenges, and I personally don't think a lot of societies taught that enough. Um I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just like I'm not a big social media dude that much anymore. So maybe that stuff is out there on reels and shorts that people are scrolling through at 3 in the morning and then they go to sleep and don't remember it in the morning. Um, but I'm not gonna walk through fear willingly unless I have other experiences to go off of me feeling this feeling, which is very recognizable, going through it anyway, and things being okay. I'm not going to go through that feeling again unless I already have that experience. So like there is that moment of I like to like zoom into it so like people have experiences with it. When something pops up and you feel that, everybody knows what fear feels like, but it's a fear of doing something that you should, or something that you know that's good for you, or something that you may want to do that isn't like a negative thing. Like I'm not saying like if you're afraid to go do dope, go do dope. Like that's not what I'm saying. I hope that goes without saying, but um you just have to have that faith, man. Just go through with it. You know what I mean? And I like something that something that always stuck out to me was a lot of times if you walk through that fear, worst case scenario, you're in the same place that you are right now. So like what do you have to lose, right? It's like a win or a tie situation, right? It's not even win or lose a lot of the times. And also I think people think it's not okay to be afraid, but a lot of people are afraid. And this reminds me of a story that I guess we'll talk about next time in the back of the book, but I mean everybody's just walking around trying to do their best, genuinely. Like I'm afraid to do this right now. I've been afraid all the hours I've spent on learning the software, setting up the microphones. This almost didn't happen because I couldn't figure out a fucking audio issue.
And then you
And
accidentally fixed it.
and then I accidentally just did a sample recording to see what it really sounded like, to see if I could mess with it in post recording, or in editing rather. And then it was working. Like, it's not really the same thing, but yeah, man, you just gotta go through that, dude. And that opens so many doors. Like your life can turn into better than what you want just by being able to consciously recognize fear when you feel it and making that conscious decision to face it anyway. And it's I think it's super important for sure.
No, I think it's incredible, dude. And like, I don't know, I'm just thinking of this as you were sharing that. Like, maybe there's an element of fear and going through it where someone's got to think to themselves before they go through it, where I'm at right at this moment is actually okay too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
like I had this moment I was telling you about out on the porch earlier at work today. I was telling you out on the porch where I was like so worked up with this work situation today, and I'm talking to my boss and I'm like spilling my guts out, and doing the old school, like, blame Nick and be too hard on Nick thing
Yeah,
that we talked about,
Yeah.
right? And he's just like, yo, man, this is all gonna be all right. Like, you're actually completely okay where you are. We got your back. You're gonna be able to fix it, and it's gonna be fine.
Don't judge yourself that
Yeah.
much. Yeah.
So I think that, like, to play this into what we're saying, the next steps that I took in my example at work, I went toward fear. I had to call somebody and give them bad news. I suck at that, right? I probably sound all like awkward and apologetic without even trying to, but I think what got me there, like, was starting at a place where somebody helped me realize that, like, where I was at before taking the first step was okay.
Yeah.
Not like, hey, stay there, you did a great job, like, but
Yeah.
just there's like this like acceptance of, like, where I am before I take this step is gonna be okay. Like, to quote you, you were a homeless heroin addict in rehab. I was a guy stuck on a a probation violation in jail. And it kind of seems like before we took the path of moving through fear, we both accepted where we were in that moment. And almost like,
And that only came through honesty.
Yep, like, just let it be, like, all right, I'm in jail right now, but you know what? Maybe there's a path forward. So I just think, like, maybe there's a level of self-acceptance in there.
For sure. Absolutely.
So
I guess in your second part, we'll go through what life is like now and how, like, all of that stuff happened. I guess we've been talking for a while, so I think my brain is short circuiting and not really knowing what to say. But this is the first episode and we're going to work through all these kinks and everything. Dude, I'm super excited to be doing this. We probably should have said this at the beginning, but I was trying to be humorous and lighthearted because I was just trying to cope with the nervousness of the moment. So, like, and, like, I can't thank you enough for, like, being willing to do this, it's I know it's not an easy thing to sign up for, just, like, getting on a mic, saying a bunch of shit, and a bunch of people that, especially a lot of people you don't know at the moment, because, like, the promotion has, like, mainly been on my page, but all these people are going to be hearing your words, not to make you nervous now, but but no, I appreciate it. And so we'll just talk about, like, when we're gonna meet again. We're gonna go eat before we kill each other, and I don't know about Chinese, but we'll talk about that.
Well, we'll get Madeline in on it to be the deciding vote.
I'm the man of the house.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you, though, man, for setting all this up, for the invite, for the passion. Yeah, dude, like, the conversation started years ago, and to, like, have somewhere to take it and just be able to do what we've been doing for years, like, I'm fucking hyped.
Yeah, a lot better of a setup and a format, even though there's really not that much of a format, than recording a random topic on my phone in the middle of doing 12-step sessions at work, right?
Nah, that's awesome, dude.
Yeah,
I'm just really excited to have all kinds of conversations with all kinds of people, dude. It's gonna be
dude,
awesome.
I want to tease the guests that we have. I want to. You know what I mean? And I don't even think it'll be a big deal to some people, but to me, like, I grew up watching the guy, and it's gonna be sick. I can't wait to meet this dude. He's gargantuan. Like, I don't know if we'll be able to get him in the frame. He's like 6'5", I think.
We're gonna be like this.
Yeah, but yeah, but that'll be really cool. Full disclosure, just for my part in the end of the video, we went through a lot of, like, spots where the light just wasn't there. I went over to check the monitor and we were, like, in the dark. But, like, the setup is very, like, not planned. All of the kinks will be worked out in time, and I'm super afraid. So let's fucking see what happens, dude.
Let's rock out.
You know what I mean? Cool.
Let's rock out.
We don't have a lot of socials to shout out, like different profiles. On Facebook, we're just Peeling Onions. If you type in Peeling Onions Podcast, I think it comes up. And Peeling Onions Podcast on YouTube as well. If you just type in, like, the YouTube URL and do a / at the end of it and type in Peeling Onions Podcast. But I'll post all that shit when we post it to Facebook. So our sign off, which I've been putting on a lot of things, is God bless you. we love you, and we hope you heard something that helps you. Thanks for listening.
What he said. Thanks so much. Let's go eat.
You like that sign off, dude?
It was awesome. Short and sweet.